and on behalf of the Education Workgroup, great to give this update. So just firstly, before we talk about our OKR's background and why we exist, our purpose. So really, we are wishing to support the community to address a learning curve from being a novice to mentors and everyone in between related to the Odyssey research framework, particularly focused on tools, skills and methods utilised for quality observational research using OMOP CDM map data sets. And we're doing that through working on guidance, signposting, triaging, or alerting and directing colleagues to materials and collaboration, training and education resources and opportunities. And we really aim to support the community members through these relevant learning pathways, which are being developed over time now, and both externally but also within the work group. We meet on the fourth Friday of the month, just in terms of some housekeeping there. So just in terms of our first OKR, and this is being led by Kristen Kostka, this is coming on from activity from last year. Just an aside, for our OKRs, we really wanted this year to look at much more tangible outputs that were clearly demonstrating impact actually for the Odyssey community. We were, I think, more forming last year, and I think it's more time to be a bit more tangible now. So in this first one, we really want to extend the glossary actually at the heart of Odyssey. So optimize the use and understanding of standardized terminologies within the Odyssey community. We've been updating a glossary of terms, really extending beyond the version that's in the Book of Odyssey, and actually work to expand that, incept it into Odyssey, the Eden Academy, and various other resources online, and certainly ensure that it's well utilized and evaluate the promotion, the update of this glossary, and link that ultimately to a directory around Odyssey training providers and opportunities internationally and globally as well, because there's a lot going on, but it can be extremely difficult to navigate all of this. So there's some basic aspects of just what we talk about and the terms, and also what materials available as well, in terms of supporting people on that learning curve. And thanks to Kristen for volunteering to take the lead on this first OKR1. And if we look at the next OKR2, which logically follows, certainly really in the first half of this year, and apologies, OKR1 is really aimed at the kind of first couple of quarters of this year, but particularly into early Q2. But OKR2 is looking more at the first half of this year, around exposing again the training and education facilities within the Odyssey community, been led by Paul Nagy, who has a particular focus in this area in his own role at Johns Hopkins and elsewhere, but also within Odyssey. Really focus on the directory, as I mentioned, particularly through Odyssey and Eden Academy and so on. There's a typo there, it should be .odyssey.org. And then really support the increase in uptake of materials and courses from directory providers. Linked to that is Paul's own interest in incorporating a lot of materials that are being developed within the Odyssey community, within Eden Academy, into pre-existing, for instance, postdoc and data science courses at Johns Hopkins, but also other institutions as well. And there's clearly a lot of interest from other organizations to emulate that. And then lastly, in OKR3, led by myself, really focus on those learning pathways, as I mentioned. When you start out in the Odyssey community, like everything, can be very daunting and difficult to know how to start and what to focus on, and where best to use your limited resources. We have to remember that nearly all of us are doing a lot of this on top of the day job, and in the evenings and the weekends and so forth, with limited time for training, for instance. So we want to start with an initial draft basic learning pathway, particularly for novitiates, in terms of where do I start, where do I go, what resources are available, building on the glossary terms and the directory of training resources, but linking that also into actual training modules available in Odyssey, in the Eden Academy and so forth, so that people can have a navigatable path, which ultimately can lead them to specialize after that, and will be consistent for all that will join and be involved in the community going on from there. And we'll build other learning pathways on top of that as well.